Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hi, obviously I'm not Scotty V. Scotty didn't get a chance to do a video this week for his Great Scott segment, so I thought I'd step in with a bit of a rant of my own in regards to John Romita Jr., who is, as some of you know, the artist on the Superman title, the comic book. Now, John, as a lot of you may know, has been a Marvel guy most of his career, and only recently DC Comics got him over to join the company, and he has been the artist on the Superman comic book title for a couple of months now. He actually wrote one issue as well, but he's mainly the artist on the book. Now, I've been pretty outspoken about the fact that I'm not really a big fan of his art style for the Superman book. I don't know why, but he's chosen to do a particular art style for Superman that's not really similar to previous work that he's done for Marvel. It just doesn't seem to work for Superman. So whatever the reason he's decided to go with his art style, it's what he's using. I'm not a big fan of it, but the thing that kind of irks me about John Romita Jr. is that he obviously isn't a Superman fan. He obviously hasn't read a lot of Superman books over the years. Being a Marvel guy, I don't expect him to, and I don't expect any of the artists really to have to be a Superman fan or whatever. When you're coming on board a title as an artist or whatever, it's a job. And so you're expected to do your best of your ability, but you don't necessarily have to know a lot about the history of what you're doing. For instance, I'm a graphic designer, a web designer. If I get a client who comes to me and they want to do a website about, I don't know, plumbing equipment, I don't know a lot about plumbing equipment, so I wouldn't necessarily be expected to then talk about plumbing equipment if someone wanted to interview me about the website. But that's what John Romita Jr. has done. He's being interviewed about the comic book since the writer Gene Lewin Yang has come on board as the new writer of the Superman title, and he's been asked to participate in interviews about the book. But not being a Superman fan, as I don't think he is, and not being a person who understands the history of the character or is in much knowledge about the history of the character, he's saying things in these interviews that really aren't true or aren't right. And yes, he's entitled to his opinion about the character, about Lois Lane, about whatever he wants to talk about. But if you are going to be employed by a company and you need to then toe the party line in a way, you don't want to be saying things like, ridiculing Lois Lane as a character, or saying things like, she should have known that Clark Kent and Superman are one and the same 25 years ago. Well, guess what, John? 25 years ago she did. They were married. She knew. It was like, know your history before you start spouting off stuff that you really know nothing about, and irking and aggravating fans of the character who have been around a long time reading these comic books and who are the ones who are paying your income in respect, because they're the ones who are buying the books. So if you want people to enjoy your work and buy the books, then don't start saying things about the characters that they love that are going to annoy them and maybe stop them from buying the books. DC Comics in recent times haven't done a lot to actually win over Superman fans with what they're doing with the books currently. Yes, this Truth arc, it's interesting. Superman being outed as Clark Kent, his powers being diminished. It's an interesting storyline, and just like with the Electric Superman back in 1997, when they said this is permanent, Superman's new powers, his new look, and obviously things change. And the same with these writers and artists, they're saying this is permanent. This is not going back. The status quo is not going back. We're not resetting anything again. This is the way it is permanently now. Yeah, we've heard it before. Obviously, these things go in a cycle, and it will be back eventually. So I'm going to enjoy the story or not, but I'm going to read the story along the way, see how it goes. I'm interested in this idea. It's a concept that hasn't really been explored in depth that much before. So yeah, I'm along for the ride, but don't peeve me off by saying crap about Lois Lane and the history of the characters when you really know nothing about it. Just stick to drawing it and maybe try to improve it a little bit. Thanks.